Tyrannosaurus rex, the largest meat-eater ever to walk the Earth. One of the hundreds of dinosaurs that have been reconstructed and, well, not exactly brought back to life. Dinosaurs only come back to life in the movies, and they'd been dead for 64 million years before humans appeared on Earth, or on the menu. If anything, it's been the human imagination that's fed on dinosaurs, with tastes ranging from the green and comic to the global and serious game of paleontology. Since the first dinosaur fossils were identified almost 200 years ago, it's been science that's fueled science fiction. It's been the evidence unearthed by paleontology, the study of fossils and ancient life forms, that's given new life to the dinosaur and set them roaming across the landscapes of our imagination. And with a new fossil being discovered about every 7 weeks, our knowledge of dinosaurs is growing by leaps and bounds. Where did the name dinosaur come from? Sir Richard Owen rode into history when he declared that the fossils of giant animals being discovered in England in the early 1800s should be called Dinosauria, meaning terrible lizards. Why lizards? We know dinosaurs were similar to reptiles because fossils have revealed they had scaly skin and laid eggs. It's the dinosaur body plan which sets them apart from reptiles. 250 million years ago, the reptile design incorporated the short, sprawling legs of the lizard and the short, bent-kneed legs of ancient crocodiles. Dinosaurs evolved because of a major breakthrough in leg design. Dinosaur legs were longer and tucked under the body. And this breakthrough came in both 4- and 2-legged models. Dinosaurs could not only stand up, they could run faster than anything else around. This ability to pursue or escape pursuit was a major factor in the dinosaur's success. T-Rex enjoyed its success by eating its own weight in meat every week. That's 7 tons, or the equivalent of 12 cows. The very first T-Rex found wasn't called Tyrannosaurus rex. When Barnum Brown, known as Mr. Bones because he found so many dinosaurs, dug up the first T-Rex in 1900, he identified it as a large meat-eater and called it Dinosaurus imperiosus. But Dinosaurus imperiosus, an overnight sensation in the world of paleontology, would soon change its name to something more befitting the largest meat-eater ever to walk the Earth. Tyrannosaurus rex. Literally, Tyrant Lizard King. People have been finding dinosaur bones all over the world for 2,000 years. People like the Chinese, who've always called them dragons. The first known dinosaur extinction theory is attributed to the 3rd century writer Chang Qiu, who explained the mystery of dinosaur bones by writing, "A dragon ascended a mountain and went directly to the gate of heaven. The gate being locked, the dragon fell back to earth and died at this spot. Later it sank into the earth. Although we may never be able to answer the why of dinosaur extinction completely, we do know the when. "225 million years ago, when dinosaurs first appeared, the Earth was a very different place. The continents were joined together into one supercontinent called Pangaea. For the next 160 million years, dinosaurs dominated the Earth. To get an idea of this immense timescale, imagine a book 225 pages long, each page equal to 1 million years. Dinosaurs would be the main characters for the first 160 pages. Mammals would take over for the last third of the book. Humans wouldn't appear until the top of the last page, 1 million years ago. and it wouldn't have been until the bottom of that page that we even knew dinosaurs existed. When the second T-Rex was found in 1902, a large foreleg found nearby was believed to belong to it. It wasn't until 88 years later, in 1990, when the 10th T-Rex was excavated, that paleontologists realized Mr. Bones had got it wrong. It wasn't the first mistake made in piecing together a dinosaur, and it won't be the last. When the freshest evidence to be found has been dead for 65 million years, it's no wonder paleontology has a long tradition of getting it wrong. One of the first bloopers occurred in England in 1820. Dr. Gideon Mantell found some fossilized teeth and excavated Iguanodon, named after the modern-day iguana. Iguanodon might be considered the beginning of dinomania. It was such a hit with the English public that a full-scale, but inaccurate model was built in Crystal Palace Park. Before the model was finished, a dinner party was held inside it for 20 people. The diners are long gone, but the Iguanodon model is still there, a monument to the pitfalls of paleontology. What Mantell assumed to be a nose horn turned out to be a thumb spike on the Iguanodon's multi-purpose hand. What still remains a mystery is where, broken and buried under New York's Central Park, are more life-size models waiting to be found by some urban paleontologist. But Mantell's Iguanodon is just one example from over 1,000 dinosaur finds scattered across all the continents, a tiny fraction of the billions of dinosaurs that must have lived during the 160 million year period known as the Mesozoic era. What was it like then? At the beginning of the Mesozoic era, called the Triassic period, when dinosaurs first evolved, low, shrubby, fern-like plants dominated the landscape. Next came the Jurassic period, when huge coniferous forests and groves of cycads supported the heyday of the plant-eating dinosaurs. Then came the Cretaceous period, when the western part of North America was covered with extensive rivers, deltas, swamps and marshes, when large herds of grazing dinosaurs were hunted by a smaller number of meat-eaters. Flowering plants had just begun to appear. And the air was thick with T-Rex breath. Although no one claims that T-Rex could kill with its breath, some believe the bacteria level was so high in its mouth that T-Rex only had to deliver one septic bite and then wait until its prey was brought down by the ensuing infection. Not so far-fetched when you consider the Komodo dragon, the largest living lizard, which uses just such a septic bite when hunting. In 1907, Barnum Brown found the third T-Rex. With 16-centimetre teeth and a 1.5-metre long skull, it was the most complete T-Rex to date and would remain the largest found for the next 60 years. Even with the help of dynamite, it took 3 summers to dig out. Today, excavation is a much more painstaking and exact science. Although plaster jackets are still used to protect the fossils during transport. The use of modern heavy equipment has greatly sped up excavation and transfer to the lab. A big help when the block of stone containing a perfectly preserved hadrosaur tail can be 2 meters of solid rock. Ironically, much of the heavy equipment we use today could be considered the descendants of the very first heavy equipment, dinosaurs. For many dinosaurs were massive, powerful creatures. The first bucket loaders were the theropods, big meat-eating dinosaurs who used their short, powerful neck and huge jaws to rip great chunks of meat off a kill. Our machinery even has claws to rip through the earth. The first cranes were the sauropods, big plant-eating dinosaurs that used their long necks to go where no herbivore had ever gone, to the tops of trees. Although Stegosaurus, which was the size of a bus, was a gentle vegetarian, few meat-eaters would want to tangle with its spiked tail. Tails were used for much more than defense. Long-necked dinosaurs were counterbalanced like today's suspension bridges, with long tails balancing their equally long necks. The longest dinosaur neck found to date measures 11 meters. Even in two-legged dinosaurs, the tail served as a balancing mechanism to counterweight various body builds and head designs. From the smallest baby hadrosaur, less than a meter in length, to the 9-meter-long meat-eating Albertosaurus. Balance was crucial when several tons of dinosaur decided to run. Imagine a multi-ton ostrich and you begin to get an idea of how the swiftest of dinosaur predators might have moved. But how fast were they? From fossilized footprints, called trace fossils, paleontologists can calculate how fast dinosaurs moved. The race to clock T-Rex's top speed, however, remains the subject of great debate, ranging from as slow as 15 miles per hour to as fast as 40 miles per hour. It's certainly safe to say man would be lucky to reach the finishing line without being finished off. Fortunately for humans, the only dinosaur bite we'll ever deal with is their dental overbite. The largest on record belongs to T-Rex number 4, found in 1966. The study of dentition, or the shape, size and wear of teeth, tells us more about feeding habits than anything else. And the dinosaurs have left us great dental records. Most plant-eating or herbivorous dinosaurs, such as this Triceratops, had cheek teeth for breaking down coarse vegetation before it was swallowed. The record for the most teeth belongs to Edmontosaurus, also known as the tooth fairy's nightmare, with over 1,000 teeth which acted like self-sharpening vegetable graters. The largest herbivores, such as Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus, had peg-shaped teeth, much like a horse, which they used like rakes to strip leaves and needles off trees. Many of them didn't chew their food, they swallowed it whole. And what about the meat-eaters who fed on these herbivores? From the Albertosaurus to the crocodile-like baryonyx, most meat-eaters, or carnivores, had dagger-like teeth. And many, such as T-Rex, had teeth with serrations, like those on a steak knife, to help rip meat off the bone. T-Rex's bark might have been worse than his bite. Were the biggest carnivores to walk the earth killers, or just scavengers? The best evidence of them hunting down live prey is in fossilized footprints of one large theropod stalking a sauropod herd. This kind of evidence also supports the theory that large herds of grazing dinosaurs were hunted by a smaller number of predators, making the Mesozoic scene not unlike the African savanna of today. With sickle-like claws on its hind legs, Deinonychus, or Terrible Claw, was the dinosaur equivalent of pack-hunting wild dogs or wolves. Weighing about 70 kilos, we know Deinonychus hunted down live prey from a find in Montana. Using hard evidence from the site, the scene was reconstructed. A Deinonychus pack brought down a Tenontosaurus, but not without first paying a price. Before succumbing, the Tenontosaurus killed 4 of its attackers. Similar finds have revealed pack-hunting raptors at the site of other kills. The carnivorous dinosaurs no longer hunt, but are now hunted themselves by the human pack of fossil hounds. In 1981, 3 Canadian high school students found the next major T-Rex, Black Beauty, named after the colour of its fossilized bone. Only after being cleaned in the lab did anyone realize how complete this 1.5-meter-long skull was. When a fossil is brought into the lab, first the plaster casing is removed. Then it's often given an acid bath to remove the last of the stone covering the fossilized bone, a process which can take months or even years. Not all dinosaurs were as big as T-Rex. Many of them were in fact quite small. As small as a bird. And they came in all shapes and sizes, with the heavyweight title going to Brachiosaurus, tipping the scales at 77 tons. That's heavier than 2 Boeing 737s. Although the largest dinosaurs have traditionally played the leading roles in popular entertainment, it's the smaller dinosaurs that have starred in the debate over dinosaur descendants. Compsognathus and Coelophysis were similar in skeleton to Archaeopteryx, the first bird. This missing link supports the theory that modern birds are the nearest living relatives of small, meat-eating dinosaurs, and the nearest relatives of large dinosaurs, like Baryonyx, are crocodiles. The 9th T-Rex was found in 1987 and provided the first known tip-of-tail vertebrae. All the bones of T-Rex had now been found except for those of its mysteriously shriveled forelimbs. The same area in North America that produced 8 of the 10 known T-Rexes to date produced a find that would radically change our view of dinosaur family life. A massive bone bed was discovered, spread over several kilometers and estimated to contain the remains of a dinosaur herd 10,000 strong. Dinosaur herds obviously once roamed the American West like the buffalo of a more recent era. The most significant find here were the nesting grounds. Much like present-day birds which nest in colonies, these dinosaurs, called Maiasaura, also nested in groups. The eggs were laid in circular nests 2 meters across, containing 20 to 25 18-centimeter eggs belonging to several Maiasaura, or good mother lizards, who shared nesting, feeding and babysitting duties once the young were hatched. We know the hatchlings stayed in the nest and were fed by their parents because the nests were filled with trampled shells. Sometimes dinosaur eggs provided food for others. Oviraptors, literally egg thieves, were bird-like dinosaurs that liked their eggs raw. Like many modern-day birds and reptiles, hadrosaurs had to guard their nests against predators. Dinosaurs probably also shared another trait with today's birds and reptiles, using sound to communicate with their young. And some dinosaurs were louder than others. Edmontosaurus had an inflatable nasal sac which amplified its call, much like many animals living today. dinosaur headgear was also used for a less harmonious activity. Headbutting was probably the most popular way of resolving differences over territory or potential mates. This tradition is alive and well in many animals today. In fact, it's now believed that Triceratops, with its 3 horns and massive frill, saw more action going head-to-head with other Triceratops than it did in the popular notion of going one-on-one with a T-Rex. Another long-held belief was shattered when the 10th T-Rex was excavated by John Horner in 1990. His fossil, 90% complete, was the first to produce a complete forelimb. The notion that T-Rex had 3 fingers, accepted since 1902, was false. T-Rex only had 2. But in the serious game of paleontology, much larger mysteries still remain, and opposing theories vie for the answers. Were dinosaurs cold-blooded like reptiles, or warm-blooded like birds? It's the kind of question paleontologists love to argue long into the night. Those who contend dinosaurs were warm-blooded point to fossils found as far north as northern Canada and Antarctica. They say dinosaurs must have been warm-blooded because cold-blooded animals, at the mercy of external temperatures, couldn't have lived in such cold. The warm blood theorists also contend that dinosaurs must have had the 4-chambered double pump heart of today's mammals to supply them with enough blood pressure to pump blood up their long necks to their heads. The heart of a cold-blooded animal couldn't have pumped enough blood to their brains, and they would have been constantly fainting. But the strongest evidence for dinosaurs being warm-blooded is that their bones are honeycombed with holes, proof of a network of blood vessels as complex, if not more complex, than living mammals. Those who maintain the dinosaurs were cold-blooded say all this evidence is full of holes. They claim dinosaurs living in the cold north were mobile enough to head south for the winter. And they gleefully point to the crocodile, which has a 4-chambered heart, yet is still cold-blooded. They also suggest that a dinosaur's large size would have allowed it to store a great amount of heat. Warm-blooded, cold-blooded, given the lack of evidence, the real answer may never come to light. One thing paleontologists have few disagreements about is how dinosaur muscle lay on the bone. They can read the bones by looking at the ridges or smooth patches and grooves, and determine how muscle, tendons, nerves and blood vessels were arranged. However, laying skin over the muscle is more a matter of guesswork. From fossilized skin impressions, we know dinosaur skin was much like that of modern reptiles, scaly, tough and waterproof, and probably came in the same variety of colors. To break up the outline of the body, some may have had stripes. Since blending in was important, polka dots were unlikely. But armor was very popular. The toughest armor belonged to the ankylosaurs. And yet even armor couldn't protect the ankylosaurs or any of the dinosaurs from extinction. The greatest mystery of the dinosaurs is the what-done-it of their extinction. There are many theories. One holds that a huge increase in ultraviolet rays gave dinosaurs cataracts, and they stumbled blindly into extinction. It was once believed they became so huge and lethargic that they died of boredom. One of the more widely held theories is supported by the fact that about the time the dinosaurs disappeared, a meteor 8 to 16 kilometers wide hit the Earth, throwing up a crater 150 kilometers wide and surrounding the Earth in a huge cloud of dust and steam which blocked the sun out for months, possibly years. The only problem with this theory is that fossil teeth have been found from dinosaurs that lived long after this cataclysmic event. It's just such evidence that makes some scientists believe that the dinosaurs' decline was more gradual. and might have been because they couldn't keep their bodies cool during the increasingly hot summers. Falling sea levels possibly turned dinosaur habitats into deserts. Or the opposite might have been the case. Rising sea levels might have flooded the low-lying lands where most dinosaurs lived. Of one thing we are certain. After 160 million years of dominating the Earth, the dinosaurs did die out. But life on Earth continued to evolve until humans came along to ponder the fossilized remains and indulge in their fantastic reality. Some would say, all over the world, dinosaurs have made quite a comeback. There are more today than ever before. Although they are far from real, perhaps they are the children born of our fertile imaginations, and the hard evidence of dinosaurs mere shadows in the stone. Certainly, there are many more dinosaurs waiting to be discovered, many new mysteries waiting to be pondered. And if it's true that life imitates art, maybe someday we'll even bring them back to life. Beneath the surface of the waters of the Earth, there is another world, greater than our own, and yet we hardly know it. It's the world of the fish. Vast, strange and spectacular, with creatures more extraordinary and far more varied than any on land. Masters of 3/4 of the planet, with more species than all birds, reptiles, amphibians and mammals added together. And like their star sign, Pisces, the symbol of rebirth and regeneration. Pisces, last sign in the zodiac, the sign that brings the constellations full circle, perhaps because of the life cycle of this fish, the salmon, the king of fish, unmatched in agility and acuteness of senses, in memory, stamina and intelligence. The salmon is the wanderer of the deep, for its life is an epic journey. Born high up in a shallow stream, the salmon sees more of the world than many of us. In its lifetime, the salmon swims thousands of miles, downstream to the river's mouth and into the wide ocean. across many waters and habitats, then finally to return to the very place of its birth. And where the salmon goes, man follows. For over 8,000 years, this fish provided the main source of food for up to 50,000 native tribespeople living along the rivers of the northwest coast of America. They built their lives around the salmon and its journey, and their descendants still call themselves the salmon people. 500 million years ago, the earliest fishes had no jaws, no fins, no scales. But they did possess one feature before all other animals, a strong but flexible support running the length of the body, the spine. A feature so important that without it there would be no birds, reptiles, mammals, humans. And upon this spine, evolution moved forward, growing fins for steering, then taking different paths. In some fish developing a skeleton of soft cartilage to produce the shark and the ray, while in the vast majority forming scales for protection, a swim bladder for buoyancy, and a skeleton of hard bone. And for the last 100 million years, this design has been the prototype of almost every fish, including the most famous fish fossil of all, the coelacanth, the living fossil, thought to have died out at least 80 million years ago. But then in 1938, scientists were stunned to find the coelacanth was alive and well and living off the east coast of Africa. The only people who weren't surprised were local fishermen who for years had used the coarse skin of the coelacanth to roughen up the inner tubes of their bicycles. For its first few months, the young salmon stays in the stream, growing and gaining strength. But then, when it's still only 4 inches long and weighing just a few ounces, comes the irresistible urge to find the sea. The fish head downstream in shoals, travelling up to 5 miles a day. The fish's body is perfect. Its every part, its every sense geared to one aim, survival. And survive it has to the tune of nearly 30,000 species, many with vast egg-laying powers, like the ocean sunfish, which can lay 300 million eggs at a time. And we acknowledge this abundance with encouraging words. At times when love breaks down, there's plenty more fish in the sea. Though some might not be the most desirable. In South America, there are 1,200 species of catfish alone. Some are 13 feet long, weighing twice as much as the biggest land cat. The Atlantic Ocean holds more than 1 million herring, 500 times all the human beings on the planet.